Thursday, June 18th, calling the workshop, selectmen budget workshop, together. Order. The first thing is to pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will turn it over to John. Discuss the budget.
Okay. If you look at the big sheet here, what I refer to as item number 1, it's the proposed budget, and if you look at the far right-hand column, you see that we squeezed it, squashed it, and we're looking at a 2% increase, and you all remember that we started off with 5.7%. So the original proposed was 6,058,374, and then there were some adjustments made, and then we adjusted the wages as 2 contracts were settled. And since then, animal control, we reduced that by $2,400. I took out of code enforcement. I was hoping to increase it by 2%, sorry, by 2 hours, and in the end, in the frenzy of budget cutting, I dropped it. Now that's a department with a huge amount of activity, and he's only a 20-hour person. Actually, I would like to put that back, but I'm not going to divert attention from the big picture. Contingency. That I proposed 30,000 all the way along, and as you know, once contingency starts getting into the crosshairs, it can disappear very quickly. Line 110 contractual services. We've been easier on the legal fees, so I reduced that. We haven't had such good lawsuits and such like. Let's see. EMS again. It's a matter of keeping the coverage, and we are fully staffed at this point. Finance. Fire is a small decrease. Finance. It's just how the salaries work out, and a lot. In fact, I've got a sheet of paper that shows what our existing payroll costs are with our current staff, and how it breaks down between wages and benefits and such like. Parks and Rec has an increase. Planning, not doing the proposed planner. Police needs some additional part-time coverage. Didn't add a full-timer, but so we took that out. That wasn't the original request. We took that out. Public utilities, public works. I don't know how Ted Cruz can work with this squeeze budget when we certainly get our money's worth. Just hope it'll be enough. And again, the transfer station, which is number 132, he's managed to look at a 7% decrease. Comprehensive plan, not there again. Waterfront, small decrease. Anyway, the key number is 2% reduction from all the way from 5.7%. It wasn't easy. Some people are not particularly happy, but that's just how it is. So, next one is revenue comparison between the green strip from top and bottom. And if you look at the second last column on the right, most of the revenues have held up pretty well. Of course, recreation had actually been shut down since March, so they're at around the 70% mark. State excise tax, we're talking about new vehicles, and people are buying new vehicles, so that number has held up pretty well. And these revenues are actually, they're pretty good through June 30th, because the full impact, whatever it might be, on the COVID thing, hasn't really hit either on reduction in revenues and income from our various sources, or what we may or may not get from the state. State reimbursements, Kathy worked on that and came up with, we're pretty much at where we should be. Miscellaneous, the big item in the miscellaneous income is that we're getting additional revenues out of code enforcement, impact fees, building permits, a lot of activity on the building side, and that will have an impact on our assessed value, which ultimately will generate more fees, but also more property tax. And just so you know, Ellery Bay, our assessor, figured we increased our valuations by about $3 million since last year. And of course, that means more construction, more activity, more impact fees. EMS is okay at 102%. Transfer station, as you know, there was a quiet spell where we couldn't get any revenues from recycling. But that now is, everything is back online there. Charge for service is 99%. Wastewater, 82.69. As you know, last year we talked about the fact that we should have increased the sewer rates, but didn't. But 82.69 isn't as bad as it looks, because we're expecting the rest of the June revenues to come in. That's the senior center, as with the rec center, there wasn't any positive activity, so that's good. The airport showing us 74.14% right now, and but the sales of, you want to say something?
Well, on the fuel, like at the end of the year, when his fuel inventory will be calculated, and the difference between what we paid for fuel and what the revenues are, and so he will meet his projected revenue. I'm quite certain of that.
And on the waterfront, we haven't had our fees from the vendors yet. So that's the revenue. Next item I have is for informational purposes. As we were doing the negotiations, Kathy put together a breakdown of all our expenses by individual, by department. So we updated that after the contracts had been signed, and of course you also know that we settled at about 2.5% on average, and we also had medical insurance increase of 7.6%. So if you look at the second column, which is the total wages, is 2.3 million, and if you look at the far right, total of everything is a bit over 3 million. So that's just looking at where the money is being spent. And if we do have to do anything dramatic on reducing expenditures, it would require getting into the personnel, because that's basically half our expenditure.
John, can I ask just a quick question, and I'm just wondering if my math is right. So if I take, for example, the Parks and Recreation Department, and you have got 2021 proposed is 828,531, and then the projected revenue is 453,500. If I subtract the two, is that, so I come up with $375,030. Is that what we're putting out for taxpayers to have to pay for the community center?
Usually the warrant asks for the full amount, because
No, but I meant, but when the dust settles, that's what
well, when the
the.
dust settles, it gets into your fund balance or your. So
Right.
if he doesn't meet his revenue,
It's good, that $375,000
it goes
more.
up. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then the last item in the handout is the capital budget. And looking at the far bottom right, the totals would be around 800,000, 759,076. We started off at the beginning of this session of this year we had 96,076 in there already for pier deck, backhoe, and MDOT utility agreement, which, as you know, is that surfacing and manhole covers on the downtown paving project. So, looking at all the others, and I called some smaller capital needs, but the asphalt roof at the rec center, apparently that was a high priority last year and was not dealt with, and I couldn't do a faulty roof. We had no shortage of rain and whatever, so I put that 80,000. I proposed that 80,000. The ambulance and the stretcher, the bigger numbers. While I definitely understand the need, and there have been situations where with 2 ambulance calls and only 1 ambulance is operational, a lot of time and money has been put in maintenance on these. So reluctantly, I took it out because I had to give priority to the public works truck, the big plow, because without that, our big road won't get cleared and the whole thing collapses. It's an old truck. The paint job is terrific. The rest of it is pretty unpleasant, very hard, almost impossible to get parts. And paving and culvert repair, they've been in there since the beginning. The roads need the attention, and as you well know, if you leave the maintenance go by, it'll just get significantly worse the next time. And the culvert is Old Ferry Road. I was down there, there was a 12-foot hole in there, so it needs a lot of work, but currently it's filled with gravel. As I said, I was out there, some citizen was going by, I was walking and said, there's a big hole in the road, but the culvert is up to the sea right down about 12 feet. So and it's one of these things that's tidal, so the wall comes in, the wall goes out, so it's not a simple thing. Same with the cruiser. Again, all of these vehicles spend a lot of time out in the shop, and we're very fortunate that we've got an excellent mechanic, and he's able to do an awful lot of work, and he has a lot of work. In fact, he's working on a bush hog today. They were trying to clean around the airport and go down. Wastewater engineering, that's up at the wastewater plant. We talked about Oliver being the consultants, and the whole consulting cost would be about 100,000, but we're getting a grant of approximately 50,000, and so the net cost to us would be 55,000. Generators, we want dedicated generators attached to each pump station. They requested 5. They need 8, and they were very challenged in the last storms, where the guys were dragging these portable generators here, there, and everywhere in the middle of the night, and it takes three people to horse them around. And DEP is very eager to strengthen the collection system, and also I was talking to Ross this morning, Kathy and I, and he said, well, it's all very well if a few pump stations go up and we can drag the portable generator around, but heaven forbid we ever get a town-wide failure. We'll get rid of trouble. Could be out for days, which means practically the time we operate. The next item down is this is the problem with spending getting the budget done so late. We're finding out new things, and the fire doors that need to be replaced at the wastewater treatment plant. Basically, the metal doors, metal frame, and there are holes in the doors. And so, from the point of view of liability and employee safety, They clarified over they need to be replaced. We want to go and look at them. They're pretty unpleasant, so the cost, the estimate at this point, the actual fix, estimate at this point is around $28,000. And an item that we had talked about was a used ladder truck from Cape Elizabeth, and that'd be $25,000. So we had $96,000 from the beginning with the pier head, backhoe, and the utility agreement with DOT, and the proposed 21 projects that I've just gone through total another $663,000. And the total is $759,076, and as you can see, that's $230,000 less than when we started out. So those are in my view, those are the key results, the key facts that the board can use to make up the decision. And I don't know how exactly you'd like to handle it, but it's a lot of information, there's a lot of changes. If you look back through the various budget iterations, we did come down from the 5.7 on the operating budget. Many times came back and forth. So this is the end result. So that's, having said all that, I think you're pretty much familiar with every line, every department, and pretty much where we started.
Yeah, I had a question about the capital amount.
Yes.
Is this the amount is this 4% of the growth, or it's more? How much more? Do we know?
Well, basically, we'd have to, my view would be, got to go to reserves.
Yep. I just wanted to know how much beyond what our, not agreement, but our guideline was.
Yeah. The hard truth is that the infrastructure is very expensive and it's expensive to maintain. The delays make it even more expensive, and we're paying, we're facing it now. There's so many, I got other things I could bring forward, but I don't want to. It's an awkward time. I don't know how our municipal revenues are going to pan out. In fact, I tried to catch up with Fred Brewer, who was very involved with the state financial panels, and he's we talked a few weeks ago, but I didn't get him down to a specific number. And as you know, the state budget panel is starting, I think, maybe even tomorrow, months ahead of schedule, to see how it's going to shape up. And then the potential positive is that we have the CARES money and we have the SMART money, and it's all looming over us in DC, but it really hasn't flooded our way yet, and that could balance it out, and things might be just fine in 6 months.
It's just so in good times of the stock market, we wouldn't even touch the principal. It just to let everybody know. So we were getting 1.2 million. So this is, I mean, granted, it's a shocking number, but it's not. It sure isn't the end of the world for the whole. It would just be, so to speak, profit from it. It's not.
Right, I had seen some of these numbers, and one thing today, raising the taxes 2%, I don't think we can really go into the line items and start going department by department. I know what it is. I'm against taking money from fund balance to lower the taxes, because we're going to need that money. So I had just thought in my head that if we took maybe 1.2, 1.3 million to our capital, and like we did last year, take whatever's left over to lower the taxes. Maybe we can get it down to 1%. I don't know what the numbers will be. if you add them all up, it's like,
What, 989?
yeah. If you add the new ambulance structure and the new police cruiser in, you're probably talking $1 million. And we could still have maybe 300,000, depending on what we take out to lower the taxes. That's my thought. I don't know how anybody else thinks. But I think going by department and starting cutting, we're not gonna be able to do it.
No, the only thing that I was thinking about was, you know, saying, for example, the transfer station, you know, taking 25,000 and have them work with a number that we gave them. But I've always wondered if any of that works. You know, same thing with the rec department, you know, so it's just, but I don't know the numbers well enough to know. That would be the only thing that we could do, would be to go, and I think 2%, I guess, when I'm finishing up, 2% is fine, I think, as far as the increase goes.
Okay.
That would be salaries, you know, 2%
Yeah.
is what we do for COLA.
And
you know.
insurance,
There- oh.
things we couldn't control.
No, so this is what I was thinking, I would like to go with the 759 and have a 2% increase.
Yes, Ben.
Looking at the revenue here, where it says fiscal year 2020 year to date, does that mean like June 10th?
Right now,
So they're pretty close to where it's gonna end up.
updated, couple 2 days ago.
All right, well, just all right, let's start with the recreation. Come up with that number, I would have to imagine the COVID-19 never.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Well, look, well, what I'm saying is I don't think 453 is realistic.
It hasn't ever been realistic. And if you go back to the last 5 years, none of it hasn't ever.
Okay, we're kind of going in circles in the sense that you're concerned about the fund balance, and that's a good thing to be concerned about. If these figures are inflated, that's where it comes out of, is the
Right.
fund balance.
Right. If he's not gonna make his number, there's no way he can do it.
And
He's
let's-
only got 2 weeks.
Unless I get, under the transfer, no, wastewater treatment plant, is that predicated on us raising,
No, we have not put a formally put an increase.
then how in the world is it going to jump $100,000 in 1 year?
There are grants out there, and we've got Oliver working very hard. We can get loans that get forgiven, and this is realistically what it's going to cost to run it, and somehow,
Okay, but I'm not coming from that. We can't guess at what it's going to be. I think these revenues are incredibly overinflated. And it's gonna come back to haunt who's ever on the board next June, because the fund balance is gonna disappear just making up these differences.
Correct.
And what is the fund balance today? What do we think it's going to be for the end of the year?
I spoke with Bernice today, and she told me that we walked through some numbers, and she said, at this particular point, and we still have 2 weeks of payroll and 2 weeks of expenses, there'll be less than $500. So by the time we get to the end of the year, it's gonna be like 500,000.
Oh.
500,000, sorry. And so that's why I got the looks on my, so she also, said that, she don't recommend taking anything out of it.
I know she doesn't, and all right, now, moving on, if I don't forget my train of thought. Bernice, generally, once we get to the end of the year, once the budget of the warrant is passed, she immediately takes all the money out of capital that was approved, and she puts it in the fund balance. Are we planning on doing that again? Because I think that would be a mistake this year.
Why would it go into fund balance? Why would it go into fund balance?
She does that so we don't have to get a tax anticipation loan. That's what she said last year. But we're doing that now, aren't we?
Which,
Tax anticipation.
no, we haven't taken anything from the TAN. year, we didn't use the TAN. But next fiscal year, we're going to apply again, yeah.
I thought there were some things in our agenda in the last couple of weeks that we discussed, is that?
No, what we discussed was, would we retain Bernstein Shore to start the TAN paperwork, because it's pretty convoluted. It's almost like equivalent to getting a bond. You've got to go get the numbers, and then you've got to get a legal opinion, blah, blah, blah. And so,
You get it in place, but you don't have to use it unless you need to. I said you get the TAN in place, and if you need to draw from it, you can, but you don't have to draw from it. So it's been in place, but we haven't had to use it for this fiscal year, so we will also put one in place for the upcoming fiscal year.
And you do have to pay it back within the fiscal year. That's the.
Well, I know how it works.
No, but that's the offer part. It's kind of, it's a short term, so if you.
Well, okay, I know tax anticipation notes frighten some people, and it doesn't bother me a bit. I mean, well, for years, we always got tax anticipation notes, and when they came in, we paid them all. Just like clockwork, it happened every year. But that gets, is she gonna take the money out of capital and put it into this right off?
Whatever she normally does is what I expect
That's
she
what
to
she
do.
normally does. We haven't talked about it. I mean, obviously the board would have some discretion on that. If they don't think that's a good way to do it, then, it's usually usually what happens is, come the vote, the department heads are pretty eager to get their projects done. So that's why I think her thinking behind it is to have the money available for when they do their projects.
And in good times, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
My thinking is now, if we don't need to spend money on something until January, we shouldn't take it out.
Yep.
The longer we don't touch that money, the chances of it recovering is the better.
Yep.
Correct.
I thought we never took all of it out. I thought, did we
She
always?
takes, no, what Ben's saying is whatever passes, whatever dollar amount passes, let's say that they decide not to get this, but they get, the town votes to do that. So she totals up what the town approves, and then she takes it and stashes, so to speak,
Well,
Okay.
there's no reason to take it all at once, as Ben said. I mean,
Agreed.
You
Oh,
know
no.
the investigation.
I didn't know that she did that, I didn't know that, yeah, it should not be.
I thought we took it as we needed as
No.
the projects came.
Because she is a real stickler for a big
Cash
fund
flow.
balance.
Yes.
Yeah, cash flow,
Yeah.
right.
There's no, an investment strategy when you're putting money in is like dollar cost averaging. You don't throw all your money in at once. You put it in maybe once a month and so on. And the same, like withdrawing money for retirement, you take it out,
When
on a
you need
monthly
it.
basis rather than, I'm gonna take next year's retirement.
Whole amount.
lump sum. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And that be a good strategy, especially when investments are peaking down.
Because that money can still be making interest on it sitting over there,
Oh,
instead of sitting in here.
And not just interest, like what Ben said, one of those upswings of $50,000 in there is huge, it could be 150.
Right.
If it's left alone, he's spot
I
on.
never did, I thought we always left it in there.
Well, because every time I mention fund balance, she always snapped at me, so I remembered it.
Oh, okay. It's like your teacher at school, right?
Yeah. Well, what was the reason that the state revenues are going to be so much higher?
That was because the homestead exemption reimbursement for the upcoming year is going to be more. And so the projection from Ellery for the homestead exemption was $348,250, which is $100,000 more than last year.
Just that, I don't like the revenue numbers, I think they are inflated. Well, I just don't think that's a good way to go forward. So, all of this is here, using these revenue projections and using this, you're saying when someone gets a tax bill, at this point, it's gonna go up 2%.
Actually, because of a little bit of extra revenue that Kathy referred to, it could actually be pretty much flat.
That's it.
But
That's
again,
great.
we don't, all these are projections, estimates, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
And we are putting, some of the expenditure we've had is going to be reimbursed to us. And like the extra disinfecting, Steve comes by multiple times a day, everything was mopped, disinfecting before everybody came, everything wiped off, this stuff. So we could get some money, and that's going to be a lobbying thing. I believe that despite our reserve accounts, we can make a case that this has to be some money, because it's going to be based on what the need is and what the revenue losses are. So we will probably have to lobby, otherwise we do a lot, get our delegation involved. You know how that is. Again, with the economy, with the ability of the taxpayers to pay their bills, and then the flip side is the promises of money. We got buckets of money, we got tens of trillions of dollars. That'll come and that'll help you till it does. Can't come until it arrives. Can't come. So,
But that money, we could get an extra $1 million in December, but that's not gonna do anything to help this tax bill. It goes out in September. Unless we want to rebate it. I was hoping that somehow we could end up with a zero tax increase. And I would probably take whatever it took out of the fund balance.
Me too.
But I'd like to know what that number is.
Out of the fund balance?
Absolutely, just to know what it is. We cleaned it out, Judy, several times, and it always,
We'll know better by the end of after June 30th. We'll know better after June 30th when the final payrolls are done, exactly what's available.
Okay, I mean, we've
Yeah, we
got,
have a.
we certainly have time.
That's why I'm thinking, Ben, that 2% is fine, because I really think that we can come up with the 2% increase, when all the dust settles. I think if I'm looking at this right, John, so it's $113,000 more that's making it the increase. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that we're not going to have to even, if there's $500,000 and we take 113, do you see what I'm saying? That money, that 113 is going to be there for us to go and get, is how I think. To make it a zero increase is what, to make it a flat.
Yes, if we can find it in there, I don't know if it's there. All right, just what is the number to put it at zero? Whether we take it from the reserves or whether we take it from the fund balance, what would it take?
It's just 113,344.
Okay. Thank you for
That's,
pointing that out.
it's just, I see what Ben's saying, and I think that this is a great budget.
I still think that we ought to take a certain amount of money out of reserve and do our capital, and the rest goes over to lower the taxes, don't even touch the fund balance. Because I'm afraid
So what you're talking about is making it, instead of a zero increase, a lesser of a budget, a lesser of a taxable amount for the taxpayer.
Correct.
Okay.
What I would do is take, all right, 759, let's say we take $1 million.
Correct, that would do it.
Take the $1 million out of reserve, do our capital, whatever's left, put it towards lowering the taxes, and we could come down to zero, basically.
In which-
And leave the fund balance where it is, because we may need that. We don't know what the federal government's gonna do.
Which capital number do you want to?
I was looking, the 759, I was going 1 million.
No, but I meant, but not the 998. You're going with what John's suggestion was.
Well, if I had my choice,
Right, me too.
I would rather put in, because of our equipment is getting older, and do something, let's get ourselves in the right gear. Let's take out 1.2 million. Go ahead and do the whole thing to Google of 989, put the rest towards taxes.
We have put those numbers back into one column and it came out, that's including the ambulance and the stretcher and the police cruiser, which were taken out originally from the original line, and it comes to $1,017,076.
So if you took 1.2 million, that still puts you $200,000 that you could use for your, lower your taxes. And we would have a better, feel, because I mean, we do have aging equipment, and if we don't start replacing it, everything's gonna break down. And this term, again, you're gonna have to bite a bullet at this point. The money's there, and I think the economy's gonna come back up, and it won't take us long to get that 1.2 million back in there. That's my viewpoint, and leave the fund balance alone, let it stay there, because we don't know what the federal government's gonna do.
The other point is, if you've got newer equipment, you have warranty coverage, you have
Less maintenance costs.
less maintenance, and your vehicles are available when you need them, especially emergency vehicles. And like I said, the big plow, without that taking care of the major snow removal in the middle of the winter, I mean, you can't do anything. Anyway, so that's,
I mean, because I think next year you might, I'm not gonna be on the board, but next year you might have a situation where we're gonna need another plow truck. They're getting older. If we can get the police and the ambulance kind of like straightened out, then we can start working on the highway department. That's what other departments are needed.
so,
That's the rationale for the 1.2 is to put the ambulance and the police cruiser back in.
Yes. But it's 1,017,000, $1,170,000 or something like that. If you took out 1.2, you'd have plenty of money. Am I correct, Catherine?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
If we took out 1.2,
Yep,
you're saying it comes to 1,017.
yep.
So we'd have $180,000 to put towards lowering the taxes, and that would take care of your 113. Am I correct?
I think that sounds really smart. For this year, you know, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, things are up in the air.
yeah, as you know, this is a workshop, so no votes can be taken.
Right. But I'm just thinking, you know, John had said, you know, we could get this money, we could get that money, but nobody says we're gonna get that money. And yes, we can always go to the can. I hate to borrow money if we don't have to. This is our money. That reserve is our money, and that's what it's always been like, to use that to rainy day or whatever you wanna call it, and it's pouring out here right now.
I'm on board for all that, but repeating myself, it's when we pull it out that I'm concerned.
You want it to stay until we spend it.
Yes.
I agree, 100%.
Well, I don't wanna pull it out.
So
I wanna say to Payson, you know,
when we need to write a check, they're gonna be like our banker.
Right.
We're writing,
but figure out what we want, but take out the, $180,000 and put that into the fund balance so that we can lower the taxes. Use that to lower taxes, but leave the rest of it there until it's due.
Yeah, you could instruct Jason to, plan to withdraw a certain amount, and the market doesn't pop up 10 or 20 or whatever percent it might be. At that point, they will settle on the highs and sit tight to the low. Assuming there's some volatility and they're smart enough to be able to draft the games. That'd be normal strategy. You've got to pay attention.
No, you wouldn't wanna take it out and not have it gain interest, you wanna leave it there, so, you know, it's gaining, maybe you should. But that's my suggestion. What I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, you heard my caveats on that, I'm with you on it. I, just to say it again on the record, I am really concerned that these revenues, I just don't think they're gonna hold up.
I don't either.
Which will certainly affect the fund balance next year.
Okay, well, we can't make any motion to decide anything, but are we in any type of agreement of what we're doing?
Your idea.
Yeah, we can put this back together, if you give us a new package, so we can look at it again.
Right.
But basically, we're putting in the ambulance and the police
We're
cruiser.
putting everything back the way it was in the original, the 989, and we got 1.2 million.
So you're gonna get the stretcher, you're gonna get all the things that were there
Yes,
before.
everything on the list.
Add those few things at the bottom there, so that will make that 989 a little higher.
You're gonna have the 200,000 for the ambulance, the 27,000 for the stretcher, and the 31,000 for the police cruiser.
Is there any way, John, that, I am definitely all for the stretcher, but as far as the ambulance and the police cruiser, could we talk to both of those gentlemen again? I guess I'm wondering where we are. Is it desperate? Judy, I like your idea, but if they were to say, boy, if I could have it in 2 years or 3 years, you know, that's all that I don't know if we need to do it this year, is what I'm wondering.
Well, I do know that they have vehicles out of service,
Both the ambulance and the police cruiser.
unfortunately, on a regular basis.
Then that answers my.
Routine maintenance turns out not to be routine.
Yep.
And
No,
they are-
that's that's all I would like, that would be the only reason why I wouldn't have those two in there, was it if John or the two directors thought that, you know, we could go another year, but if we're at that point, then, because if you're gonna have a department, it needs to be you know, so I'm all on board with that. I just was, you know, just
No,
want to make sure.
I know what you're, I do understand what you're saying. And of course, it's one of these things, if the vehicle isn't in service, isn't reliable, when something major happens, then it's going to be, oh my gosh, you know, we could have fixed this, we should have bought that. And that's second guessing, it's always.
Right, and every year when we come up with this, we're gonna put line by line. The town might say no.
Right.
You know, so, yeah, let's throw it to the, Judy, you got me. I can't come up with a single reason.
That's why I kept thinking about this all after my nap today.
So when I
Of course.
interrupted him, it's
And I'm thinking, if we can get one department or two departments in good shape, then we can start working on the other departments instead of having everything come at us all at once.
And you know something, John, maybe in a parting over the bow, say, can you come up with a plan going ahead, replacing the cruiser and having the EMS guy go, here's a plan to replace the next dude. So I see what you're saying, is that if we can get a department on solid footage, then come in with a replacement plan and stick to it. Yeah.
But that's a hard, that's.
Oh, I get it, because I voted to take, remember the year, I don't know, we took $600,000 or $800,000 out of the fund balance. I mean.
I know.
3 years in a row.
Oh, and I just went, but we got down to it, and we were looking at we got it to a 14% increase. Remember when we
Yeah.
did or we got it to 4.5 or something like that. It was almost like a desperation, you know. So.
But you're right, Jeff, about a capital improvement plan. The town has had a capital improvement
Right,
plan.
we just haven't ever stuck to it.
Don't stick with it,
Correct.
it's useless.
Correct.
And then you come up to crunch time.
Correct.
There is so much turnover up here that it's really difficult to stick to anything.
Yep.
Everybody comes in with best intentions and new ideas, and there you go.
Yep.
Well, I think putting that ambulance back in is a good idea, because we've also contracted with Dresden.
Correct.
And that's even more.
You don't want to get caught with your pants down when you're going out the door.
If somebody calls from Dresden, we say, well, sorry, we can't.
Oh,
come in.
that's like-
You know.
Right.
So what we're talking about is to give this back to John, have him run the numbers again, putting everything back in, taking out the 1.2 million, looking at what we look for a percentage of increase. It should be 0, I hope.
Correct. So the only wording that I have in my head, John, and I don't think we've ever done this as a board, is how do we ask for that amount? It needs to be a line, right? And it needs to be worded correctly. We're asking the town to vote for this to, what do we say, offset taxes?
Yes, well, we did it last year.
I wasn't, I missed it. Yep.
Yes, we put 275 out, so
Perfect.
it's there, the article's actually there.
Yeah, but that's what we say, if the 1.2,989,000 is going to go for capital improvement, the remainder amount will go to lower the taxes. And then you list the items one by one and let them decide, what they want to do. If they decide they don't want all these, then that's less money we want to take out to the fund balance, but we, out of reserve. But we definitely need to at least take the 113 and keep taxes to 0. If that's what we can get first.
Like Jerry Maguire, Judy, you had me at hello. So, you,
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
So today I worked on a municipal valuation form, and I plugged in the numbers that we knew, and Ellery had punched in his numbers. And without taking any money from the reserves, taxes, the rate was right in between what we're paying now, between 19.6 and 20.6.
19,000.
Well,
no, that's $19 per thousand.
So it's right there without any money from reserves
How
or
much is
fund
there?
balance. So that's why I wanted,
How much do you figure it is?
let me find it again. We pay 19.9 now, so.
Times 3 million.
Right, and 2% would be 20, probably, I don't know, 20.
So the maximum mill rate, based on our numbers that we know right now, would be 20.61 mill rate. And the lowest allowable tax mill rate would be 19.63. So we're really right there in the middle,
Right,
without putting any money from reserves or fund balance in the revenue calculation. I just wanted to throw that out.
no,
I know where you're going, but I'm not quite getting. Applying the mill rate towards the 3 million increase in valuation gives us how much extra money?
it's basically 70 cents per thousand.
I just plugged in the numbers
the
that we
increase
have,
would be.
that we have
Just
available
use the
right
current
now.
number.
Our county taxes, our school budget, all our municipal spending, our anticipated revenue sharing, and that's what we come up with.
Okay, now that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Ellery is saying we're going to have an increase in valuation
Yes.
by $3 million.
Yep.
I'm just saying, applying the mill rate to that, what does that give us for money?
I guess I'm not following your question.
Our valuation is going to be $3 million more than it was last year.
Mhm.
How much money, tax money, does that 3 million generate?
Oh, okay. Let me see which one this
If we multiply by the mill rate, won't that
is.
give us
Yeah,
that
I'm just gonna
number?
find that number. Let me get the calculator.
Well, it's kind of neat what you just said, is it puts it in perspective. On a $100,000 house, it would be $70 more if we did nothing on their property taxes. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
So if we do something,
It's
then
gonna-
maybe people,
Make it zero. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
even they could have a.
But I guess what I was encouraged about by her number is that, yeah, we're doing diligence, do you know what I mean? But $70 or $85, do you know what
Right,
that's all I'm.
I know where you're going, but I think,
I get it. You want it to be no dollars,
I
and
want it
that's.
to be nothing. because I think people have a hard time right now.
Sure.
Some of the people aren't work going to be, our dad was talking about going on
No,
Australia.
Yeah, it's our part, you know,
Five
Well,
point
it's our money, let's
seven,
spend it.
I mean,
Hmm?
call it 57,000. On $3 million. All right?
Maybe 500 or something else.
507,000. 507,000, sorry, I didn't my decimal point.
Excuse me, what?
it'd be $500,000.
Yeah, 570,000,
That's 1 mil, a little over a mil.
little over a mil, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
A little over a mil.
$100,000 over a mil.
You're testing my math skills.
Well, I guess I am. $3 million is gonna generate 500,000?
Yeah,
Sounds right.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
That's
that sounds right where you should be.
Yeah, because you take 1909 and basically multiply it by, I multiply it by 300.
Yeah.
And I come up with 475,
Mm-hmm.
close to it.
Great.
Well, okay, then that's,
575.
there's that much money we could not take out of reserves, or we could go back and maybe address a couple of little things here and there. 500,000 is quite a bit.
Right, I think that's what kept that mill rate down with the numbers that we had.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've always counted the new valuation coming in. Should we discuss the 500,000 at all?
It's up to you whether you want to discuss it or not. I mean,
Well, okay, I was a little disappointed. I would have liked to have seen the extra police officer put in, at least one. He wanted to, I would like to see one put in. I think we need the police.
well, John and I discussed that this morning, I think.
Okay, I'm just throwing that out for discussion.
I did too, wanted to add a police officer, extra police officer, because I look at this, report and things are really
They're
going
busy.
on here in Wisconsin.
Very busy.
What would a police officer cost? 50,000?
About 52,000.
With salary and benefits, probably around 75,000. However, it would decrease because he had an increase, I'm sorry, he had to increase his part-time line. So that added another $25,000, so really net.
Your
they
50
gave-
is a good
It's
number.
about 50, yeah.
And if we could get another officer and the overtime would come down, that would be a savings there. I don't know how anybody else feels about adding another officer in, but, my concern is keeping that 2% to zero. That's what I
Well,
want to say.
so am I, but there is,
We've got mad money, is what Ben's thinking about.
I know.
well, if Ellery's given us a number of 3 million increase in valuation, then that's a legitimate number to work with.
That's what he put in the sheet, yeah. So if you look at the green column, Ben, that's dated 3/10/2020, you'll see the police budget of 513,734. That
I don't
was
know
his budget.
where you're looking this one?
I'm sorry,
The big
on this
one.
Down on 123, that's what the police budget was with a new police officer and making his admin assistant full-time.
The 513?
Yeah.
Seems to me if we make that one change, we still should be in really good shape.
I have no problem making a change, as long as that 2% goes to zero.
Yeah. We'll poke at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to increase taxes, and I want to be able to,
I
and I want to
am
be
with you,
able to do all our capital projects.
I am with you 100%, and if we only take that amount out,
Just the
Then-
PD, just the police officer?
Yeah.
Okay.
then that should give us a really healthy fund balance going forward, if we're not touching any of the extra that's coming in.
Okay, so that would change how much money is needed to bring that down to zero, correct? Once we take out the 1.2 million, we have to make sure that we have enough to bring that down to zero.
I'll be anxious to see when John comes back with
Yeah.
probably you're gonna take out some overtime, is what I was thinking,
Yeah.
and probably a part-time line.
Yeah, we just-
I'll be
we've gone back
anxious
and
to
forth.
see,
We've
I
gone
bet it's
back-
gonna be below $50,000.
We've gone back and forth, put it in, took it out.
Yep,
That's-
yep.
We have a number.
So are we in agreement to putting the police officer back in? As long as this remains zero? And take enough out of the fund out of the basin to do all of our capital projects and bring that down to zero?
I get that.
So if John and Kathy can come up with those numbers for Tuesday. I know, crunching numbers again, huh? I know.
No problem.
It should be easy.
Yeah, no,
Did Ted ask for an employee?
Well, we've got, does he need more people? We have funded more people, we just can't get them.
Perfect, so no, so he's,
He's
so
okay.
that would be the next department that I would be concerned with as far as
He's
staffing goes.
He's got to have two plow operators before winter. Because he's got a part-time that doesn't plow, and he's down one person. So after we classify, we hire whatever, but before winter, that is it.
Now, when we're talking the police department, I want to make sure we're clear. We're only adding the officer. We are not increasing the secretary's time. We're only adding an officer, a full-time police officer. Is that correct, Kim? You agree? Jeff?
Yes,
Okay. I want to make sure that we're not adding more time to the secretary.
has the school voted on or put forward their budget?
Yeah, it's mostly
That's what I
flat.
think, okay. Because you know how I am with that SRO, I know that the police chief keeps saying that he uses them, but I think that should be in the school budget.
Well, we discussed that before. The
I
only
know.
problem is if it's in the school budget, they have control. If it's in our town
Right.
budget, we have the control.
Right.
And you never know, they might not want to pass our
He
orders.
was hardly ever there.
Right,
He was away at the police academy, there wasn't a replacement, there wasn't a substitute, so,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
I would be fine not having an SRO, but I'm just one person.
No, that's how I feel as well. I've not been, since the start of it.
What did you say?
I said I haven't been a fan of the SRO up at the school. I don't know. I think that the way that, I think more, in my opinion, if you were to go into a social work aspect, like counseling or talking, but no, that's another day.
That's another
just-
subject.
But that's why I don't want the SRO, because I would like someone else to fund something else.
And you know what, the chief is really involved in the elementary school doing the DARE program, which is something that we haven't had, and that seems to have been very positive.
Isn't it,
And,
yeah.
Yeah, but it
That goes
hasn't been in
back to
our
Mike,
schools.
when Mike Reedy was the police chief, he was one of the first ones to start.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Your memory goes back pretty good.
He's built really good relationships with little children and families. I see people commenting
It kind of
things.
nips it in the bud, doesn't it, Kim? It
Yes, it does.
gets it started soon.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I feel like that's more important than having an SRO.
Right.
You know, we could use more social workers, but the town's not gonna help that.
Oh, no, but that's what I'm saying. Anyways, sorry, tonight's not the night to bring that up, and I apologize.
All right. So we're going to give all this numbers to John, have him come back with some more numbers on Tuesday. And then we will make a decision on where we go from there, and how much we're gonna take out. So the warrant, hopefully maybe Tuesday might be our last one.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think we can do
I'm
it.
sorry, John, to nickel and dime
Oh,
you.
no,
It's the-
one more fine.
I've got to say, Madam Chair, I think this has gone much more positive than I thought it was going to. I think it's fallen into place.
I think so.
Well, I think the numbers that we were given by the town manager,
Half the battle.
I was grinning, sitting, couldn't see it, but I was grinning, John, looking at it, sitting down. It's wonderful.
Okay.
Doing that with increased valuation.
I
we should be good shape.
totally agree.
Anything else from the board? Are we all set?
Stop it, right?
Thank you, John, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Okay, we're going to have, another board business. We're going into executive session to discuss a personnel matter. I make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A, and there will be no vote after.
Second motion.
All those in favor? Thank you.
So, Patty and I, the board will be leaving the windows here. Okay. I'll kill the machine.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
This is exit here.
That's